In this lesson, we will be taking a look at how to create a brand new drawing and how to set up a drawing once that is created. We're going to start off by taking a look at the application options. So from the Tools pull down, I'm going to click on Application Options. In this case, we're going to click under the Drawing tab. And under the Drawing tab, this is where we're going to make all of our settings for our drawings. So for example, retrieve all dimensions when created. It's off by default, and I would recommend that we do that. Otherwise, if you would place in a very large assembly and have this checked, it's going to bring back all the dimensions for every single part inside of that assembly, and that could be kind of overwhelming. So we're going to leave that off, and I'll show you other methods in another lesson for recovering those dimensions. So some of these are pretty straightforward in regards to centering our dimensions when placed, about the ordinate dimensions, the view justification. As we go a little bit further down, the title block insertion. So the default is to insert that in the lower right hand corner, but you're definitely free to go back and make that change wherever you would like. The other part that I would like to talk about on the right hand side is the default drawing file type. So it defaults to an IDW, an inventor drawing, or you can change it to a DWG. So this is an AutoCAD DWG. So there's really no difference. It's just going to be tagged that it was created inside of Inventor. For our class here, we're just going to be taking the default with the IDW file, and we'll come back and we'll take a look at some of these other application options in further lessons. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. And let's start up a new drawing. Now there's two ways of doing that. I can go back under that drop down for the new and click under drawing. Or if I click on the new or Control N, it will bring up the new file dialog box. And this is where I can go back and select a specific DWG or an IDW file. Or if I have a specific tab, either under the English or the Metric or Inventor Professional, or maybe you have another tab here for a client specific or a job specific that you're working on. In this case, I'm just going to go back under the standard IDW, and let's start that brand new file. Now, once we're in this file, how do you know what size that sheet is? In your browser, you'll notice it says Drawing 2. In this case, this happens to be the second drawing that I created in this session of Inventor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my cursor over sheet 1, right click, and go down and click under Edit Sheet. Now, this is where I can come back here. I could give this another name if I wanted to. If it was just a layout, I could change that to layout per se. This is where I can change the location, or I'm sorry, the sheet size. In this case, let's change it to a B size. I can do a revision. And in another lesson, we'll be talking about revision tables. And again, this is where I can go back and change the orientation of the title block. You'll see that it is located, in this case, in the lower right. If I want it to go to the upper right-hand corner, I can change that. Do you want this to be portrait or landscape? As well, we have two options for printing, exclude from count and exclude from printing. If I have a sheet that is just basically going to be a layout, but I don't want that to be part of the sheet count. So let's say I have 4 sheets, but I only want 3 of them counted. Then I would exclude the one from the count. Then it would be just sheet 1 of 3. And exclude from printing, if you go back and do a print all, it will exclude that. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. So you notice I now have my B-size sheet of paper with the title block in the upper right-hand corner. Next, let's take a look at switching out the border. So this has the default border. So what I'm going to first do in the browser is move my cursor over the default browser and click on Delete. We'll remove that from the screen. And then go back and expand the Drawing Resources folder. And underneath Borders, I have a basic default. So if I double click on that, it'll get replaced. I'm going to undo that. Or if you move your cursor and right click, insert drawing border, you're going to get a few other options. In this case, the number of zones. So horizontally, let's take that to 2 as well. And we'll just leave the rest there. And if you expand the dialog box, You can also go back and make some text style changes. And in this case, I'm just going to accept all the defaults. So I now have my updated border. Now the same thing works with the title block itself. In this case, I have the ANSI large. If I want to switch that back to just a smaller one that already exists, I'm going to delete the existing title block. Then again, under the Drawing Resources folder, expand the title blocks. And in this case, I'm just going to double click on ANSI A, and it will place that back down there. You see that it defaulted back to the lower right hand corner. So if I wanted to change that, I could definitely do that. So now underneath here, let's talk a little bit how would we go back and create a new title block or a new border. Simply move your cursor back over the specific one that you want to make a new one of. And in this case, define new title block. And the environment will change here. You'll notice all of my sketch tools are existing, so I could go back and create that. In this case, I'm just going to say save it. And of course, there's nothing to change, and that's okay. The easier way is to maybe take an existing title block, and I'm going to edit that title block. And if I zoom up close, you can see that there's a whole bunch of information that is being applied here. So if you double click on one of those, or right click, edit text, another dialog box will appear, allowing me to go back and change specific information about that. So do I want to change the text style or the type, the information that this is being pulled from? A lot of this information is being pulled from the eye properties or the metadata inside the drawing. So you can go definitely take a look at making your own title block, and then when you're done, right click, save title block in this case, and this is where you can save as and give it a new name. In this case, I didn't change anything, so I'm just going to click on the No button. So lastly, let's take a look at, I want to create another sheet. So in this case, I'm going to just minimize the drawing resources. And under Sheet 1, I'm just going to go to a blank area here and right click, click on New Sheet, or from the Drawing Views panel, if you go down second from the bottom, click on New Sheet, you'll notice that I now have Sheet 2 of 2. So if I zoom back up on here, it says Sheet 2 of 2. So I also know which one is active because it's white. The other one is grayed out, so I can switch between them just by double clicking on them. There's no limit to the number of sheets that you can have. So at this point, I would definitely suggest experimenting around a little bit with creating sheets and a new drawing.